Welcome to the Occupational Safety Leadership Podcast, episode number 279. And in today's episode, we'll talk a little bit about ego and occupational safety. And for anybody who's listened to my podcast, a lot of these are older Dave talking to younger Dave. Younger Dave was brash, arrogant, because I was, or I shouldn't say was, because I considered myself to be smart. The plan had to be mine. I take input, of course, but really the plan had to be mine. I was very ego focused, very ego centered, um, because in my mind, of course, and I don't want to justify this. I had that title. When I had that title, I was like, well, if I'm the one in charge, I have to be in charge. I didn't really get and understand the aspect of I can't do everything. I was young enough that I believed that I'll do everything. And not just that, but the things I don't get to, well, stick them on a list. Get to them tomorrow. Well, I realized pretty fast that the list was growing a lot faster than things I could take off that list because I hadn't put trust in the people. Because of my own ego, I assumed that I know. And because I know, well, that means that others don't know out there. So it took me a little bit of time. I did do a beta test on a person who said, I bet you I can come up with a safety plan. And at this point, it's been 30 plus years, so I don't even remember what the plan was. I do remember the gentleman's name and his face and what the situation was. And of course, I don't want to just blurt it out in case he's doesn't want that. And I thought, oh, this would be great. There's no way he can come up with this plan. There's no way. He doesn't know safety. He's doing production stuff. How could he ever know about OSHA and safety and all that kind of stuff? There's no way, you know. So a couple of days goes by. He comes back with the plan, and I read it, and it was awesome, and it was good. And that was one of the things that made me think like, hey, maybe it's me holding back people at times and not me somehow as the gatekeeper because I have to be the smart one. I have to be the one who blesses off things. So it did take me a little bit of time for my ego to let free. And I also realized that as people created their own plans, their own procedures, of course, and SOPs and that kind of stuff then, even coming up with their own types of training and their intervals, and they had a lot of buy-in. When it came from me, I was just some nameless, faceless guy but when it comes from them, they have buyout. They also have a lot of pride in it, and maybe it's their ego talking that, hey, we did this as a team. This is our site, and our site will do it this way. So I've taken a totally different approach. Now, of course, this is also a evolution over 30 years. Is I want the folks to tackle their own problems as much as they possibly can. If you're having trouble getting money, well, I can help you out with that. If you're having trouble, maybe convincing a director or executive or something, well, I can help you out with that, you know. But I really want folks to handle their own problems because for the most part, they know their problems way more better than me. And by problems, I really mean hazards, out there. So they know how to fix these things. Um, and so I've done everything I can to help them, to empower them, to take care of your own hazards, your own challenges out there. I'm obviously here to help. I do want to review your stuff, and people really get good. You give them like a little bit of coaching. That's not a safety cop. You don't just take their thing and mark it up in red, give it back to them like here, fix this. It's let's sit down, let's walk through it, let's talk about the areas that we want to improve on. Uh, really got a lot of fantastic results that way. So just to wrap up this episode, I'd like folks to sit down and take a little inventory of, do you think your ego is helping you or hurting you? And I know that life is not always a binary yes no, but let's just kind of think about it as in, is it helping or hurting? Am I slowing down the process? Am I helping the process? Am I trying to be the gatekeeper? Because I'm so worried about, because I have this title, that somebody will say, well, wait a minute, if somebody else can do it, you know. So I want folks just to take time, sit down, think about this, and of course, like all of my podcasts, it's totally optional, you know. But for me, I found it to be a fantastic way to really sit down and say, so how do I go on to the next level out there? And I don't mean it like a little bit about getting good, because we try to do that every day, you know, but at some point, almost like lifting weights, you know, you get to a point where you're like, how do I kind of get to that next plateau? I need to come out, I need to think about a strategy. I have to look at my diet, nutrition, you know, my form. How am I, how am I doing these things? How am I going to break through? And talk to others. How did others do it? How did others overcome this then too? Because there's a lot of knowledge out there if we literally sit down and just ask. So, and with that, let's wrap it up. 279 is complete. I want to thank everybody for joining me today. We talked about ego today, and how, for me, I certainly cannot speak for others, but for me, it took a little bit of time for me to wrap my head around this, to understand this, and then to let go of my ego. Thank you for joining me. My name is Dr. David Ayers. Have a safe day.